What's up, guys? Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to the Attachment Confessions. My name is Chelsea, and I am super excited to have you here with me today for episode 23. In case you're new to the Attachment Confessions, let me fill you in on what the pod is all about. From the moment I discovered attachment science, everything about every relationship I had ever been in finally made sense. And now, I'm figuring out what it takes to earn my attachment security and have the best possible relationships from now on. Here on the Attachment Confessions, we'll be diving into all things attachment science while you guys tag along on my attachment healing adventure. My hope is that by bringing attachment science to those of you who have never heard of it before, and by sharing my own story, you'll also be inspired to set out on your own attachment healing journey. Because seriously, you guys, life is so much sweeter on the other side of your insecure attachment. Speaking of, if this podcast is helping you finally make sense of yourself and your relationships, please take a quick sec to leave a rating and review of the Attachment Confessions. It makes a huge difference in helping other listeners discover this podcast, so pretty please help your fellow humans out. Guys, I teased something on the last episode that I'm finally able to share with you all. Basically, like the most exciting news ever. So if you've listened to pretty much any episode of the Attachment Confessions, then you've heard me rant and rave about Dr. Sarah Hensley. If this is your first time listening, she's the whole reason I became obsessed with attachment science. Well, I am beyond ecstatic to share with y'all that the Attachment Confessions has teamed up with the Dr. Sarah Hensley to offer my awesome listeners 10% off any of her programs, digital products, and services at thelovedoc.com. This includes her transformative 4-week hybrid group coaching program that is designed to truly heal your insecure attachment. I've personally participated in a number of her workshops, including the hybrid group coaching program last November, and I cannot stress enough to you guys just how powerful it is. Listen to episode 13, Attachment Healing Journey Update, for my insider perspective on her program. You can check out all she has to offer at thelovedoc.com and use the code Chelsea10 at checkout to get 10% off. That's CHELSEA10. I cannot describe how excited I am to be able to offer this to you guys. I'm pretty sure you can probably hear it in my voice. I'm basically freaking out. So thank you so much, Dr. Sarah Hensley, Raina, and everyone at the Love Doc for making this collaboration happen for my Confessions fam. I'll put a link in the show notes with the promo code for you guys. So if you're serious about healing your insecure attachment and drastically improving your relationships, take Doc up on this amazing offer. I promise you, you will not regret it. And if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out to me personally on Instagram at the Attachment Confessions. Y'all, I'm stoked, no pun intended, for today's episode. I have been so blown away by the messages and personal stories you guys have shared with me on the Attachment Confessions Instagram, and have gotten a lot of attachment questions from listeners all over the world, which I am still trying to wrap my brain around. So it's about time we brought your questions to the podcast airwaves. I also figured it would be fun to bring along a +1 to liven things up around here. So, without further ado, welcome back to the pod. Everyone's favorite dismissive avoidant, Mr. Brent Stokes.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for...
Always a pleasure.
Always. Thank you for being willing to come back on. So, fun fact, I haven't told you this yet, because I wanted to get a genuine reaction.
Oh, boy.
But the episodes of, well, your episodes, where we dove into your dismissive avoidant past.
To my dysfunction? Yes.
Yep. Well, you know, yeah, it's a work in progress, just like me.
Yes.
They're within the top 5 downloaded episodes in all of Attachment Confessions history, my friend.
Are you serious?
I mean, I know this is only episode 23, so I didn't have to go deep into the vault yet, but they are highly listened to. So I figured, bring him back.
Yeah.
Everyone loves a good guest, and so here we are.
I think it's our chemistry.
It's just natural.
Yeah, it's just a natural. We have a good time.
We do.
When the mics are off, we have a good time. We're fun.
Yeah.
Together, and it's easy.
Makes sense to bring you back. So thank you for gracing us with your presence again.
I'm so happy to be here.
Well, I'm happy, and I'm sure the people are happy. So how about we just get straight to it with these listener questions?
Listener questions. This is an exciting episode.
It is.
And I'm looking forward to your responses to some of these questions. I'm also hoping that my education doesn't let me down and I read these to perfection for you. But are you ready for the first question?
I am.
Okay, first question says, I recently started learning about attachment. After listening to your deep dive episodes on the anxious, preoccupied, and fearful avoidant, I'm still not totally sure which one I am, as I have a lot of the same traits as both of those attachments. How can I figure out if I'm an AP or an FA?
So this is actually a really frequent issue where a lot of times people will be like, I don't know which one I am.
Yeah.
So love this question because hopefully it'll help clear the air for some other people out there that are also wondering the same thing. So usually if somebody is confused between which attachment they are because they have traits of both,
right,
that is going to mean that you're a fearful avoidant. But in this particular case with this listener's question, not sure if they're an anxious, preoccupied, or a fearful avoidant. More than likely they are a fearful avoidant, but that just naturally leans anxious. Because attachment styles don't change. You don't go from, oh, well, I used to be an anxious preoccupied, and now I'm a fearful avoidant, or vice versa. I used to be a dismissive avoidant, and now I'm a fearful avoidant because of the current relationship that I'm in. It doesn't work like that. The only change that happens with attachment is going from an insecure attachment to earning your attachment security.
Okay.
That's the only possible change because it's wired, like each of those 3 insecure attachment styles are wired into our nervous systems from childhood. So that doesn't change. So with the fearful avoidant, depending on how they naturally lean,
right,
whether they're more on the anxious side or the avoidant side, just naturally, that just depends on different factors that happened in childhood with their trauma. If they are often viewing themselves as anxious in relationships or having anxious behaviors, and then they get into a new relationship with a partner that is more anxious than they are, that is going to cause them to slide into the avoidance side of their fearful avoidant attachment, which might be a totally new experience to them. They might be like, whoa, hold on. I thought I was an anxious preoccupied. Now I guess I'm a dismissive avoidant, which would never happen. That means you're a fearful avoidant and your avoidant tendencies just hadn't been triggered yet, because you were more drawn to avoidant partners, which brought out your anxious side of your fearful avoidant attachment. So all that to say is this listener questioning whether they're an anxious preoccupied or a fearful avoidant. You are probably a fearful avoidant. That just leans more naturally on the anxious side.
Well, I'm glad you explained that too, because I've even asked you those questions about myself, trying to figure out exactly what my attachment is. And like this listener, I feel like I lean both directions, but that was a great explanation just to know where this individual might be.
Yeah.
So great job on the first question. That was your first question. I feel like you did a Great job, and you killed that. Are we ready for
Thank
question
you.
2?
Well, before we go into question 2, I
Yes.
would love to piggyback off of what you just said about yourself.
Okay. It's about me again.
Because when we brought you onto the pod
Yes.
as a guest, you are our dismissive avoidant guest.
I was the DA.
Yes. And so I think that it would be helpful to share a little bit more of what's kind of come to light with your own journey as you've continued forward in your own, self-exploration, because we thought you were a dismissive avoidant.
Yes.
But the more that you have learned and reflected back on your childhood and your relationships and how you typically behave, you've come to the conclusion that you're a fearful avoidant.
Yes.
But that naturally leans highly avoidant.
Yes. Very highly avoidant.
Yes. So that just goes to show that learning all about this is a journey.
Yes.
And what you think might be, oh, this is definitely me, this hits the nail on the head, as you continue to learn and self-reflect and research more, you might come to a different conclusion that helps you understand yourself even better.
Yeah. So I think what really helped me was listening to the deep dive episodes. And I was looking forward to those episodes because I thought as you did those deep dives, I would finally get an answer for where I fit. And the FA episode just seemed to resonate more with who I am in relationships and also how I was raised and what I was raised around. And so I started to lean that way. And I think I even sent you a message and said, hey, I just listened to the FA episode. I think this is me. And so just like the person that asked this first question, I was really struggling to figure out exactly where I am because I have traits for both sides. But I am definitely an FA. I'm claiming that. But working on making that better at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, because something that we talked about was with the fearful avoidant, there is such complex high trait variability that really no two fearful avoidants are going to be exactly the same.
Right.
With a dismissive avoidant, that attachment style is so predictable that, like Dr. Sarah Hensley says, it's as if they went to Dismissive Avoidant University, got their diploma in dismissive avoidance, and there's no variability between attachment behaviors questioning, okay, am I a fearful avoidant or am I a dismissive avoidant?
Right.
A dismissive avoidant is very, very clear. It's not going to be in question of, am I an FA or am I a DA? So the fact that you have been having those questions because you have recognized certain behavior patterns or things from your childhood that have come up that make you wonder, well, which one am I? That in itself is telling that you're a fearful avoidant that just happens to naturally lean very heavy avoidant.
Yes.
So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Spoiler alert, our dismissive avoidant guest from episodes 11 and 12, well, upon further evaluation and self-reflection and walking on this healing journey, he is, in fact, a fearful avoidant that just leans heavy on the avoidant side.
Yes. All my FAs, please stand up.
Yes. I'm right here. I'm standing in spirit.
Okay. We're going to question 2.
Okay.
This one looks good. It says, my partner and I have been together for almost 2 years. Congratulations on that. I am a fearful avoidant, and I'm pretty sure he's a dismissive avoidant. I'm ready to settle down, get married, and start our life together. But whenever I bring the topic up, he tells me he wants the same, but he's not ready yet, and he's scared of commitment. I'm not sure what to do at this point. I love him so much, and I can see a future with him. But at what point do I stop waiting for him to get on the same page with me? I'm worried I'll be waiting forever just for him to never be ready. Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. That's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, I feel really, really deeply for this listener because it resonates a lot with my own experience with the dismissive avoidant partner that I was with as well. So, first and foremost, I feel you. I get it. I've been there. I know exactly what it's like and I know how painful it is. I can't tell you what to do. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm here to, sit with these listeners and hear what they're going through and give my advice in terms of what maybe like the next right move would be. But obviously I'm not here to tell anybody, well, this is what you should do. Because everybody's relationship is different. Everybody's dynamics. There's just because I had a similar situation with my dismissive avoidant doesn't mean it's the exact same type of situation as this listener's. So I don't want to project too much, although it does hit very close to home.
Right.
So what I will say is that, having been in that same situation and knowing what I want for my life and my future and thinking that we were on the same page because we were, or at least that's what I was told, when our relationship first started. And then as time went on, the next steps, the next tier of what typically comes, when there's so much friction there in terms of you have a very clear picture of what you want and you've communicated that with your partner.
Mm-hmm.
And what they tell you is that they want the same. So that's comforting. You're like, okay, awesome. Like you want the same thing as me, but they're scared, which is understandable. It's okay for people to be scared. I mean, marriage is a lifelong commitment. Or that's, the intention of it, of course, of anybody that's going into a marriage, right? And so it's a big deal. You don't want to just take it lightly and just marry anybody that walks your way. 2 years, to me, that's enough time to know.
Yes, I agree with that.
This is the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with. Like that's been enough of a test drive, right? You've gone through different things. I'm sure different conflicts, you know that person well enough at that 2-year mark for sure to know if it's who you want to be with. And it might not even be a matter of if he wants to be with you. With a dismissive avoidant, it's that commitment piece. That's the piece that's really hard for them, is feeling like their autonomy and their independence is going to be stripped from them. There's plenty of dismissive avoidants out there that would be like, hey, if you want to be my lifelong girlfriend, like I'm down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm good with that. But it's literally taking that next step of marriage that is really difficult for them. And so I think approaching them in a very gentle, empathetic manner, because this is not their intention to hurt you. It's a mechanism to protect themselves. But at this point, the conversation and like having the truth put on the table on both sides needs to happen, because ultimately, if what you're looking for in your future is marriage, kids, that whole vision, and it just truly is not going to line up with your partner's vision, you're kind of at a standstill.
Yeah.
Those are like major values that are not in alignment. And you can love somebody to death, but if those visions are not in alignment, it's unfortunately just not gonna be the right fit.
Yeah, that's tough. And I think after a 2-year relationship, the listener deserves to have those things laid out on the table.
Yeah.
After 2 years. The other thing that I found interesting about this question is the listener said, whenever I bring up the topic.
Right.
So I wonder if he ever brings up the topic. Probably not, is what I'm guessing. But it's a topic that the listener tends to bring up, to talk about a life together, a future together, a marriage. So I found that interesting when I was reading that.
Yeah, no, definitely good point in picking that clue up for sure.
Okay, good one. Are we ready for question 3? Did you recover from question 2? I know it hit home for you a little bit.
It did, but it's just nice to know that you're not alone.
Yes.
This is a struggle that a lot of people in relationships have.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be helpful to other listeners that are also in that same situation to hear that question be asked because they're like, dang, I'm also in the same boat.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yep.
It's good stuff. Okay, let's move to question 3. It says, and I quote, I'm very new to attachment science, but after doing some research and listening to your podcast, thank you for listening, I think I might be an anxious preoccupied. My partner is definitely avoidant. We've been together several years and have horrible communication as well as other issues. I've brought up the idea of couples counseling, and he was very against it. How can I get him to want to do the work to fix our problems?
Man. Okay. So the simple answer to that is you can't.
Mm.
You can't get him to want to do anything. They have to want to fix it themselves. You cannot force it upon them. Especially with, I mean, that's just in life, right? You cannot change anybody. True. You can't get anybody to want anything. They need to have that own internal motivation and desire to do that. With a dismissive avoidant, that's, cranked up a few more notches than just the average person as well, because that's what they want to do, is they want to avoid, they want peace and harmony. That is the biggest need of a dismissive avoidant in their relationships, is the need for peace and harmony.
Yes.
And doing something like couples counseling is naturally going to disrupt that need that is embedded into their nervous system.
Right.
Because that is an extremely vulnerable environment. They will feel very easily attacked in that type of environment. And as we know, their main attachment wound is feeling defective. And so when they're in an environment such as couples counseling, where issues are being brought to surface, that triggers that wound of defectiveness in a major way. And dismissive avoidants usually do not do well in counseling settings because they feel attacked. And they also do not feel comfortable being vulnerable with their feelings.
Yeah.
So that's not obviously the answer that the listener wanted to hear. You cannot make them. You cannot convince them. They have to want it themselves.
Right.
And unfortunately, I mean, that can be a boundary that you can finally set in the relationship is, hey, I want these issues sorted out. I don't want to continue to have the same fight, the same issues, just round and round and round. And I need this to be resolved. And maybe even offer, this listener could be in counseling, like individual counseling themselves. Yeah. They might already be. I don't know.
Sure.
I don't have enough information. If they're not, they could say, hey, I'm going to go to counseling. I would love for you to join me. There are some things that I want to work on so that I can show up as the best version of myself in this relationship.
Absolutely.
And having you there would really help me understand what you need. And so maybe kind of reframing it in that way so it doesn't seem like such an attack. Maybe that could be helpful.
Yeah. I was thinking that same thing. If the couples counseling is not an option, is there a way to start individually and maybe come together at some point with the counseling? But that's tough. That's another tough situation. But what great questions the listeners are sending in.
I know.
But yeah, they're heavy too.
They are
So
heavy.
you're giving great advice, but as I'm sitting here reading these, my heart hurts
I know.
as I'm reading some of them. So
I know.
good job. So are we ready for question 4? Or did you have more you wanted to add to that?
Well, I will add one thing.
Okay.
And I think I've mentioned this probably on previous episodes, but with the dismissive avoidant, usually tanking in therapy or, couples counseling, Dr. Sarah Hensley's hybrid group coaching program was designed, for everybody, but specifically with the dismissive avoidant attachment style in mind.
Okay.
Because it is a less vulnerable environment. It's not a one-on-one or, a two-on-one environment like individual counseling or couples counseling would be. So they're not triggered in the same manner as, whenever it's just an individual setting or a couples setting. And they can microdose the information that's being presented to them. It's not a setting where they're having, they can be completely anonymous. They can turn the camera off on their screen and just listen and absorb the information that way. It's not as vulnerable of,
Interesting.
Of an environment for them. And dismissive avoidants tend to get a lot out of that type of environment where they typically tank in counseling. So,
okay.
Yeah, and now they can use that 10% off discount code Chelsea10 at thelovedoc.com for that program. So
good share. Very nicely done, Chelsea. Okay, to question 4 we go. It says, me and my partner of a year and a half recently broke up. It has been very agonizing for me, but it seems like she's immediately over me and living her best life, which makes the pain of our breakup 100 times more hurtful. I'm not sure what to do. I just want my heart to stop hurting. What's your advice for someone going through this situation?
Oh my gosh.
Another tough one.
I know.
Great questions, though.
It is a great question because, again, this is going to be very relevant to what a lot of people are going through.
Right.
I'm so sorry, first of all, to this listener that's experiencing this. I, again, can relate. Not to make this about me, but I can relate. So, again, it hits close to home. And it's so agonizing. It's so painful. And especially with social media where people that are just so easily accessible and they share like literally every second of their life. So it's like you can always see what somebody is up to, right? And that's painful. My advice, because this is what I do when I am no longer in a relationship with somebody, and especially when it was like a painful breakup,
right?
Even if it was mutual or even if at the end of the day it's what was best, there's still a lot of pain there. You're still grieving a person who is alive.
Yeah.
You're grieving a future that you thought that you had with that person, right? So regardless of if you know deep down it's, the right thing for you ultimately or not, it's still incredibly painful, especially when it seems as though you didn't matter at all because they're just moving on like you never meant anything. So what I would do is I would remove them off of any type of social media so that you don't open Instagram and the first thing you see is them living what you think is their best life.
Yes.
That's what I do. And I know I've talked about this in previous episodes. I had that breakup, that 3-episode breakup series where I went into a lot of this. But for those of you who haven't listened to those yet, there is no need to stay connected to your exes on social media. There's really no need to do that.
Yeah.
Because all it does is just reopen wounds every time you want to scroll on Instagram to see what people are up to. And then you stumble upon what your ex is up to and it puts more salt in the wound,
Yeah.
So I recommend definitely removing any of your exes off of any of those platforms so that you don't accidentally stumble upon something that could be upsetting.
Yeah.
Going no contact. It's hard, but there is science and research behind it that it is so much more effective for healing when you have a clean break from somebody. Now, that's difficult if you share children together,
Yes.
obviously. But if you don't have ties like that bind you to one another, it's going to be hard at first, especially if you have more of an anxious attachment style. It's going to be really, really hard, but it's how to heal properly. And it sounds like for this listener, his ex is maybe projecting an image on social media to make it seem like she's living her best life. And that's what a lot of people do.
Right.
But I can guarantee you that's not the case. Unless she's got true narcissistic personality disorder and does not care. But that's, again, not as common as people like to throw the word narcissist around. It's not as common. And people that get out of a relationship and immediately look like they're doing great, it's a facade.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's to distract themselves from actually truly processing the grief of the breakup.
Yes.
So that they don't have to feel those feelings.
Yes.
So I'm so sorry for this listener that's experiencing this. But that's what I have to say about that.
Great job. I think you answered that one perfectly as well. Great question. We wish you the best. We wish you healing. And I know that's a tough situation for you. So keep your head up, focus on yourself, and hopefully everything works out there. So are we ready for question 5?
We're ready.
Okay. It says, I'm a fearful avoidant that leans anxious, and my boyfriend of 3 years is a dismissive avoidant. We cannot get on the same page at all. I've expressed how I need more affection and to spend more time together, and I often just feel like a last resort. Something I keep hearing on social media is the phrase, if they want to, they will, which makes me feel like I'm with someone who must not love me because I've communicated ad nauseum what I need, yet hardly anything changes. Do his actions or actually lack of action mean he just doesn't love or care about me? Because otherwise he would change.
I love that question because, yes, that phrase, you hear that all the time, or at least I do. If they want to, they will. If they want to change, they would change. That's just not accurate. It's not a matter of if they want to. It's a matter of capacity.
Okay.
So with the dismissive avoidant, because in this example, she said she's with a dismissive avoidant, right?
Right.
It's not that they don't want to change. They don't have the capacity to change. A capacity issue is different from a desire issue.
Okay.
Because with the dismissive avoidant, with their biggest attachment wounds being feeling like they're defective, they're broken, they came out the factory wrong, they can't be fixed, that is the inner shame dialogue that they have going on within themselves and embedded into their nervous system. And so a lot of times they truly believe that they can't change. They're like, this is just how I am. Like, I don't know how to do relationships. I don't know how to give you what you want.
Yeah.
And that's a capacity issue. That's not a desire issue. Now, what is a desire issue? They do have the capacity to change. They have to have the self-awareness to go, okay, I see that I have things that I need to work on and that I could change in order to be a better partner, in order to meet the needs that my partner has been telling me that they have. And I love them and I want to build that capacity. So it has to start with the self-awareness and the belief that they actually can change. So it's not they just don't love you enough, they don't care about you enough, so therefore they're not going to change. It's a capacity issue. So.
Yeah. DAs. That was a great question. Okay, so we're on number 6.
Okay.
I really like this question too.
Okay.
Because before I started to listen to your podcast, I remember getting on the World Wide Web and looking at some different attachment quizzes. And getting different answers to what I was or which way I leaned. And so this is a great question. I'm really, really excited about this one and hearing what you have to say about it.
Okay.
What's the best attachment quiz that you recommend?
Ooh.
I bet it's not on the internet, though. I bet you're going to say that.
Yeah. So this listener is not going to be too thrilled with my answer. I don't recommend any attachment quiz.
Oh, okay.
Reason being, I mean, you right there, the example that you gave of you've taken several different ones and you've gotten different answers. And so that's also been confusing of figuring out which attachment style you truly are, right?
Yes.
So that's the problem, is attachment is so nuanced and there's no psychometric validity to any of the quizzes that are out there. Meaning there's not a reliable enough true sample size for them to show reliability in giving an accurate result. So I know that if y'all, whoever's listening, has been here since day 1, episode 1, in my first few episodes, admittedly, I did say, hey, if you're on the fence of which attachment style that you are, I recommend Thais Gibson's, who is a well-known attachment expert.
Mm-hmm.
I recommend taking her quiz because there's lots of different quizzes out there that you could take, and I feel like hers would be the most reliable option. And I still feel like her material and her knowledge on attachment is phenomenal.
Right.
But I regret recommending taking a quiz. So I will be actually going back into those earlier episodes and editing out the part where I say, hey, if you're on the fence, take this quiz. Because the longer that I have done my own research on attachment and the more that I've had actual conversations with listeners or people in my life about this subject, more times than not, they do not get an accurate result.
So can I ask a follow-up, Chelsea?
You may.
You're trying to determine something that is a lifetime in the making, right? From childhood to where you are at current state.
Mm-hmm.
Is the reason you give that feedback, is it mainly because a 20-question quiz can't look into all the nuances and the things that might have taken place during your childhood to help explain exactly what your attachment is? Is that the main reason for your feedback on internet quizzes?
Yeah, that's a big piece to it for sure.
Okay.
Definitely a big piece to it. The other piece to it is the confirmation bias that people have when they take any sort of personality assessment.
Yeah.
People can manipulate, whether purposefully or not purposefully, the answers that they give in order to achieve a result that they want to have, right?
That's a good point.
So the best way is to have a true real life conversation with an attachment expert to do the adult attachment assessment. That's my final answer on that. Is it's just a quick 5-minute quiz to see like something as nuanced as attachment science. It's honestly too important to leave to a quick 5-minute online quiz, I feel like, because that can steer people down the wrong path and give them the wrong information. And then they're working on issues that aren't really what they need to be working on. So to this listener, I don't recommend any quiz. I recommend getting with an actual attachment professional, not just any therapist, because in my personal opinion, There's a lot of therapists out there that don't truly know the updated science with this subject matter. Just again, of people that I know that are in therapy that are honestly teaching their own therapists more about attachment than what the therapist seems to know about it. So, no quizzes, please.
Great question. Great answer. No quizzes. That's what we just learned. Thank you for that, Chelsea. We're going to move to question 7. This question says, my social media is filled with influencers, psychologists, and coaches that specialize in attachment. I'm unsure what resources are reliable and what aren't. Who do you recommend? Great question.
That is a great question. Attachment it's really blown up over the last couple years.
Right.
And especially if you're someone like me who is obsessed with it and nerds out on it, like that's all my algorithm feeds me now is just like all these people that are claiming to be, coaches, therapists, this, that, and the other attachment experts. And there's a lot of great information out there. I would say that checking someone's actual credentials is really important. I, myself, do not have any credentials, right? I've been very forthcoming about that. I'm not an attachment expert. I'm not a psychologist. But I'm here doing this podcast as a obedience to God's prompting that he put on my heart to share my personal story and how attachment has impacted me so much, because I would not be here today. Well, not saying I wouldn't be alive. I wouldn't be the person that I am today had I not stumbled upon attachment science when I did, after having experienced, the crushing breakup that I went through back in July with my dismissive avoidant partner. I would be a mess. And so, since it changed my life so drastically, God put it on my heart to start this podcast to tell my story and hopefully be able to help other people that may be going through a similar situation so that they can realize like what I realized after learning about attachment. So I'm not claiming to be an expert. Have I done more research on this topic than I ever did in all of my years combined in school and what it was required of me to actually earn my bachelor's degree? 1,000%. 1,000%. But I don't have any credentials. So I would say that is probably the first place to look in terms of figuring out what's reliable or not when you have all of these different sources to choose from. Dr. Sarah Hensley, she has her PhD in social psychology. She has been studying attachment for the last 2 decades. She's not on the clinical psychology side. She's on the research psychology side. So she's a true scientist.
Yeah.
She's not a counselor. So that's why she's able to approach her services from a coaching standpoint. It's not, oh, how did that make you feel? And then just validating the client's feelings, which is what a lot of therapy is. And I feel like isn't very effective. Is there a place for therapy? Absolutely. And can it be effective? Absolutely. But in terms of really, truly changing your own bad patterns, I think the coaching perspective is really what's most effective, because a coach isn't there to validate your feelings. They're there to shine a light on areas that you can actually improve on and give you some tough love of what you really actually need.
Yeah.
So I think that looking at their background as well, not just, they have a counseling background, they're a licensed therapist, looking at what the other pieces of their background are, to see how valid or good of a resource they are in terms of this particular subject matter of attachment science.
Good stuff.
Is that helpful?
Yeah, that was helpful for me.
Okay.
Hopefully that was good for the listener as well. Thank you so much for sending in that question.
Yes.
And we are now approaching the finale. Very sad to say that, actually. This has been great. This is question 8. It says, after listening to your podcast, thank you for listening. Yes. It's really apparent that you've done your research and a lot of healing work. What's been the most helpful tools or things you've implemented in your healing journey?
Well, thank you for that question and for acknowledging, the work that I've done, because I feel like I have done a lot. I've shared a lot on my various episodes. I've already talked about Dr. Sarah Hensley multiple times on this episode. I pretty much bring her up on every episode. She's been absolutely phenomenal, instrumental. She was the catalyst in me even learning about attachment science.
Okay.
So props, shout out to her. And my faith has been the biggest thing. I believe that God puts things and people into your life when he does for a reason. And I say that I stumbled upon Dr. Sarah Hensley on Facebook. And that, was the thing that changed my life in learning about attachment science. But I know that he actually put that in my life. So I would say having an amazing resource like Dr. Sarah Hensley, but also my faith this whole time. I mean, those have been the two biggest things in getting me through what has been a really, really, really difficult season, a difficult breakup, and obviously propelled me to be here with you today answering questions from people I don't even know. It's just such a blessing to know that I'm somehow speaking to the issues that people are also going through and being able to use my heartbreak to help others. I don't take any credit for it. All I'm doing is being obedient.
Yeah.
And obviously, my parents are absolutely amazing, and surrounding myself with awesome people in my life, my community that are very supportive. But there's just a lot of internal stuff that you have to do that other people can't fill that void, right? Or can't always be there for you. You can't rely on other people. So really doing that healing work, what I've learned in Dr. Hensley's programs have been actual brain changing, transformative healing attachment work, not just knowing about attachment and understanding it. Yes, that was huge and very eye-opening, but then actually implementing the tools that changes your brain and how you were wired as a child in terms of attachment, and being able to earn your attachment security is absolutely mind-blowing and has been super helpful as well.
Well, you mentioned yourself having the calling that you had, and I want to share with you as a listener to the show, it is a blessing to have you sharing your journey, to have you sharing your hurts, to have you sharing your triumphs. I've listened from day one and I've enjoyed it. And I see more and more that people are, listening to the podcast and asking questions and sending you great messages as well. So you're impacting so many people. I'm thankful that God put you in this position to impact so many people. And it has been amazing to be a part of it. And again, thanks for having me on the episode. And I just encourage all those to keep listening and keep working on yourselves and working on your journeys.
Well, thank you so much. You have been an amazing support from day one. And I'm thankful to these listeners for sending in these questions, because I think that, like I've said before, it's only going to help other people to hear these questions and know that, they're not alone in what they're going through. And I just ask people to continue to send questions, because we can do more of these Q&A episodes every now and then, and just hopefully be able to impact more lives and bring more awareness to attachment and the fact that it's something that you don't have to live with. You're not doomed because you are an FA or a DA or an AP. You can change that and experience healthy relationships. And not only relationships with others, but just feel that inner peace with yourself as well when your nervous system is finally more regulated. So thank you, everybody, for sending in questions. And that's a wrap.
Thank you.